Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a traditional remedy that's been around forever, it seems. Black bean porktail soup. Now, you might think it's just a comforting bowl of soup, right? Well, our sources tell a much bigger story. It's a fascinating look at how the exact same food can be an incredibly powerful medicine for some and a real danger for others. And really, this single quote from our source material, it says it all. It nails the two sides of the story perfectly. On one hand, it's great for your kidneys and your lower back. But on the other, there is this huge red flag for anyone with gout. It's a healer and a hazard, all in one bowl.
Okay, so before we get into the warnings, and they are really important, we have to understand why people love this soup in the first place. Let's start with the good stuff. What exactly makes this a legendary tonic in traditional food therapy?
Well, according to our sources, this soup is just celebrated for a huge range of benefits. We're talking about things that support your body from the inside out. It's become a real go-to for people looking to recover their strength or just boost their overall wellness.
Okay, so its number one claim to fame, strengthening your body's foundation. You know, in traditional medicine, the health of your kidneys and bones is directly linked to your vitality, your life force. And this soup is seen as a way to, well, shore up that foundation. That's exactly why you see it recommended so often for things like postpartum recovery or for anyone dealing with osteoporosis or just that feeling of chronic fatigue.
And it's not just about internal strength. It's also got this reputation as a beauty tonic. I mean, that rich collagen from the porktail, that's believed to be amazing for your skin's elasticity. And then you've got the antioxidants from the black beans fighting off the signs of aging. It's even been traditionally used to nourish your hair and help with things like premature graying. Pretty incredible, right?
So on top of all that, it's also considered just a great all-around wellness booster. It's packed with protein, packed with calcium, and it's said to nourish your blood and your qi, which in traditional medicine is basically your vital energy. The whole idea is that it helps build up your strength, boost your immune system, and just bring your body into better balance. So with a list of benefits like that, stronger bones, better skin, more energy, you're probably thinking, where's the recipe, right? But hold on, this is exactly where our story takes a sharp turn. Is this soup a miracle for everyone? The answer is a huge, emphatic no. Our sources couldn't be clearer about this. These characters you see here, they literally mean consume with caution. And you have to understand, in the world of traditional food therapy, that's not just a friendly suggestion. That is a serious warning. They're telling us, in no uncertain terms, that this powerful soup is absolutely not for everybody. So, let's get into the most important part of this whole explainer. Who needs to stay away from this soup, and crucially, why?
Okay, the source material gives us a pretty specific list. Gout patients and people with high cholesterol are right at the top, and we'll see why in a second. But it's not just that. It also includes people with temporary issues, like if you've got a cold or flu. And it even points to certain body types, like if you have a heaty constitution, meaning you're prone to inflammation, or if your digestive system is feeling a bit weak. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. The broth is a total double-edged sword. Think about it. That long, slow simmer is what makes the soup so deeply nourishing. But it's also what pulls a ton of compounds called purines out of the meat and into the broth. Our bodies turn purines into uric acid. For most of us, no big deal. But if you have gout, that same broth can send your uric acid levels through the roof and trigger an incredibly painful attack.
And it's the exact same story with how rich this soup is. For someone who needs to rebuild their strength, all those animal fats are a fantastic, dense source of energy. But for a person who's already watching their cholesterol, that same richness isn't nourishment. It's a heavy burden on their system that could really mess with their blood lipid levels.
All right, so the takeaway here isn't just good or bad, it's about being smart. It's not just if you should eat it, but how you eat it. So let's walk through the right way to prepare this soup depending on who you are. We'll start with the classic traditional method. Okay, so for anyone who can safely have this soup, the traditional method is actually pretty simple. The big first step is to parboil the porktail to get rid of all the impurities. That's how you get a nice, clean broth. After that, you just combine it with your herbs like du chung and black beans and let it simmer away for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, until everything is tender and you've pulled out all that good stuff.
But, and this is a big but, if you're in one of those at-risk groups, the game totally changes. Our sources recommend a whole different approach. Use less meat, add more herbs,
Be really careful about skimming off all the fat. You might even want to shorten the cooking time. But there is one rule here that is absolutely, without a doubt, the most important one.
And here it is. This is the golden rule. For anyone who's at risk, eat the solids, not the broth. I really want to emphasize this. The danger, those purines that can trigger gout, that concentrated fat, it's all in the liquid. It's in the broth. If you stick to just eating the meat and the beans, you can get some of the good stuff without taking on nearly as much risk.
So let's step back for a second. What's the real takeaway from all this? What does the story of this one soup teach us? Well, the lesson here is actually way bigger than just a recipe.
I mean, this soup is such a perfect example of a few really important ideas. First, that traditional remedies can be incredibly powerful, but also that they can come with serious risks for certain people. It shows us that how you cook and eat something is just as important as what's in it. And maybe the biggest lesson of all, the whole concept of a healthy food just isn't one size fits all.
And that really leaves us with a final, pretty important question to think about, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, what healthy food in your own diet might be worth taking a closer, more critical look at? It's something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.